Okay, so this is a tour of a built guild house. There's 3 areas where the allowance of 700 items has been split. Most of it's inside the house for the crafting areas and decorations. There's a large chunk in the garden, and then a percentage, a small amount, I've just thrown together some Alanor structures. Just to give you a taste of what I'm planning to do in upcoming videos. Because it's a guild house, this is kind of a mashable 3, but I'll be doing videos concentrating on either decorations and clutter, specific crafting areas, gardens, houses, structures. This is actually set up as a working guild house. Like I said, 700 slots. Before we get into it, let me just show you this. Nothing too exciting, it's just so you can see roughly how it's divided up. Without the Alanor, that'd be a lot less. And also remember that because I've had such a large area, there's certain areas like by the pool where I've had to strip out the decorations. So you come in, literally from the Gold Coast outside, grab your cushions, grab your towels, and you come up to the pool and sunbathing area. There's a guy called Freetality, F-R-E-E T-A-L-I-T-Y, I think, on YouTube. He does a section called ESO Cribs where he visits houses, and lovely North Winds had one of these built, and I thought it was such an amazing concept where she'd linked 2 stretchers or 2 crappy beds and a cushion together that I thought, hey, I'll do a whole resort. So you come in, a couple of sunbathing areas, lots of scatter cushions for just chilling out and lying around, and there's a couple of platforms as well. It's kind of 2 things, but they do the same thing. When it comes to building, is to make it look filled, you need height. That means that if you're decorating a big tall house or a big tall room, you need big furniture. And for gardens, this was all flat. This literally was one big flat field originally. And I went to one of the zones, I can't remember which one, but you can find it probably easily. And I bought a bunch of these. There you go, Google that, boulder volcanic rock. And you can just build up wherever you want. So up here, Jester's Pavilion, just a seasonal event drop. A couple of Alanor furnitures. And then a second ramp down to the guild house. This one also, each of these platforms, they all had cushions, tables, drinks, canopies. But as I started developing the inside of the house, I had to sacrifice the outside. And most of your balance goes inside. People will spend their time at your crafting stations. People don't tend to hang around in gardens. They just look over this once, they go ooh, and then they just move through it next time. So this is the food and drink area. Again, used to be much more decorated. Some tables, some couple of games for when the guests are bored. Underneath there's 2 more areas for just chilling out by the pool. That goes through to the Alanor section. I'll show you before we go inside. Ugh, dude, really? Okay, give me 2 seconds. There you go. This used to have shelves, bottles, drinks behind it. Again, the wet bar got sacrificed for the guild house. So moving on from this area, shut due to copyright. Couple of purple items. This whole area at night time with these Cold Harbour furniture pack lights, it all starts glowing blue and white. It looks like a really good moonlit night. So I can't edit it in to give you a nighttime show, but if you ever have any blue lights, just put them outside, drop a few items near them, and then check it out for yourself at nighttime. This is completely empty. If I had 300 more slots, I would have done something with it. Oh, and the tent, it's one of the new Master Writ items. I finally managed to save up enough to get it. I really like the garden. You can get a lot of cheap furniture, but these coloured ones from the Crown store, they just set the garden up. Let's see, a luxury vendor house. We're going to be doing a few things with that in the future, so you'll be seeing that. Some of them may be heavily disguised. For a guild house, let's see, group, individual, and trial target dummies. And if you're practicing your rotations, there's also the Mundus stones, so you can change your stone effect, see how that affects your rotation and your damage numbers. Anyone that has these, please keep them together and please keep them alphabetical. I've seen other people's houses where they've kind of grouped them in threes. It makes it very difficult to work out what the hell they are sometimes. So I just try and keep it simple. These lights, they add so much. You need very few of these lights, they're amazing. Crown store only, unfortunately. Furniture pack. And these are from the gems from the crates. So, let's see, moving on. Eleanor. You can throw it together and you can do so much with it as long as you have the space limitations. This whole area was open apart from the little round pillars in the middle, but because I think she's awesome, I've got my Temple to Azura here. So there's her. I would have liked to have had some kind of light hidden inside her to make her glow, but you know, the limitation's what it is. Should have been a lot more decorations, but again, this was my last built area. I'm also out of Keylander, wherever it is, so I can't build two more of these. So these guys are just set up here. You'll be seeing a lot more of the Eleanor. I literally threw this together last minute just so I could show you guys that rather than just chucking the odd floor down or pillar, you can do a lot with these. Just to give you a rough idea, this area, let's see, that's all that was here originally, just that little round thing. And since I've done the update to ESO, this is just the best function, the undo. I love that. There should have been some balconies up here. Like I said, another build, another time. And outside the chapel there'll be a full-on cemetery. I've got a couple of items now. So let's go inside. Now, thing to remember if you're setting up a guild house, people don't like going through doors. People are lazy. There's one door here, but everything else is one room. And I've got all the workstations on one level. So starting from the side room, you've got my banker's area, meeting room and jewelry crafting area. That should be somewhere else, but you know, I wanted to just place it for now. All my chests. Let's see. Oh, that's another furniture pack item. Just added the lights. Pariah Smuggler is probably the most useless NPC ever. I never use her, so she's basically just doing my crafting for me, getting my poisons ready. And then next up, some more clutter. I've put the blue lights here, the mage lights, because all the lighting, or nearly all the lighting, is orange that you buy, or yellow based. Changes the colours of your items, so having this here just helps to get the hues right. So crafting for clothing, and then my clothing themed area here. Again, there should have been a candle or a light here, but I'm just out of space. Metal work, blacksmithing, woodwork. And when I was talking about height, if I just had that and maybe a small fire, it would have looked so empty. So always go for height on your decorations. Food, just some basic kitchen items. My merchant used to have a full-on store for her, but again with limits you've had to just sacrifice what you can for decorating. I mean, for instance, that's in the wrong place, but I built this area first, didn't have the heart to pull it down to put all my clothing stuff together. If I was redoing it I would, but I'm going to be pulling this place apart to show you the other builds that later. This is my greenhouse. 2 in alchemy stations, growing my plants, growing my fabricants, and then pretty much just leaves cooking fire, enchanting. Because I viewed this as, I'm very heavily into clockwork and dwarven, so I viewed this as one of Sofa Sill's early houses where he was practicing stuff. The guy that made Clockwork City. So for the enchanting, I've got some more soulstone themed clutter, and one of Sofa Sill's experiments early on didn't quite work, so I'm trying to look after her. That pretty much just leaves upstairs, which is my library. You can do with a lot with different library builds. Let's go back to first person. I'm trying not to jerk the camera around, but I keep forgetting and running, so if it's twitching your eyes over the place, I apologise for that. So there's a few seating areas, a couple of workstations and desks. Remember that the bookcases, you can add items to try and make them individual. This one, if they're not next to each other, you don't need to. People don't look that closely normally. If you've got 2 items that are next to each other, you better find some way to try and make them look different. As an example of what not to do, this. 2 bookcases, I've merged them, but they still look exactly the same. If I'd had more allowance of items, I would have shoved a few books into like that shelf, and then some on here, and then 2 there, just to break up the uniformity. Documents there as well. I've got some decorations missing because I've actually got a 200 slot house ready to do next. Staff recharging themselves, and then lastly the bedroom. And if you don't like these chandeliers, because they are huge, just remember that even if they're out of bounds, let's see, okay, make it disappear. If you shove them up in the ceiling or outside the walls or in under the floor, you still get at least 80 or 90% of the lighting effects. It's just not quite as bright. So rather than trying to have 30 lights in this room, you can just cut right back I mean, how many of those have I got? I've got, for major lights, I've got one there, 3 little lights at this end, 2 dwarven reading lights on tables don't do anything. I've got 1 light there. Yep, destroy the place cat, thanks. And then that's pretty much it. I've seen some beautiful designs on these big houses, but they've had to use 40 lights in some of the large rooms, and it's just a killer. But that's it. So I hope I've given you a few ideas of what you can do. Just remember, big rooms need big furniture, or at least something with height. If you can have anything that moves, it helps to make the rooms look less static. And if you've got a big room, you can always pull the ceiling down lower. Okay, I was going to try and... There you go. So this is the room normally. It's pretty big. If I was decorating all the way up there, I'd use so many. So I just shoved the pagoda in. That's it. And hopefully I'll see you guys in another video. Have a great day.